Hi, Kevin. How's it going?
Hi, Daniel. Doing great. Thank you.
Good. So, yeah, thanks for coming with us today to talk about fuel reduction and fire breaks. And let's just start off by, let's hear what you do at your job, where you work, and how long you've been doing that.
Great. So I work at CAL FIRE. I've been here for about 6 years, and I currently manage our demonstration state forest program, which is about 72,000 acres of forest land that we own and manage for sustainable forestry, research, and recreation purposes. Also have the opportunity to work with the press a little bit, either through social media releases, press releases, other things to make the public aware of what we're doing, some of our recreational opportunities, and how they might interact with our forests.
Sure. Awesome. How long have you been in the position you are today?
I've been managing the state forest program for about 2.5 years.
Awesome. Awesome. So, let's jump into our first question. What is fuel management defined as in your own words for our listeners?
When I think of fuel management, I'm thinking about redistributing or removing vegetative growth to prevent wildfires from starting or to slow their spread once they do start. And in general, I'm thinking about reducing the continuity of vegetation, both horizontally and vertically, to prevent it from transferring, from plant to plant. We also take the opportunity to remove dead fuels, which is going to be more susceptible to fires in favor of live fuels, which are going to have a little more moisture on site during the critical summer months.
Sure. Awesome. Now, our next question kind of goes into what is a fuel break? A lot of times people might see what is a fuel break along a roadside, or they might hear about it. But if you could give kind of a breakdown of what that is and a little bit different than fuel management, it's something we might see along the roadways.
Yeah, so while the fuel management might happen over a pretty large dispersed area, a fuel break is usually along some sort of a linear feature, and it's a proactive fuel management. Generally, we use ridge tops or major roads or other landscape features that aren't conducive to fire spread. And the fuel break is a strategic investment in the community as part of your firefighting infrastructure to prevent, slow, or control a fire.
Sure.
It's got some co-benefits to the community too, as well. While it's not being used to suppress a fire, it can be used to increase sight lines along roads, so you can see hazards or wildlife coming at you, and provide more room for snow dispersal in the mountains, and increase solar radiation onto the road to melt prevent ice from building up. And we can also use it for some of our wider fuel reduction projects, so we can anchor a prescribed fire or something off of a fuel break to, both increase its effectiveness and use it to do some other landscape wide work.
Sure. Awesome. So now to our next question. What are some fuel breaks that have been successful? Excuse me, fuel breaks that have been successful that you've seen in your time that you want to maybe speak on?
Some of the most successful fuel breaks are those ones that you don't see or hear about, luckily, because they've done their job and we've had time to get to a fire and put it out while it was small, or the fire didn't even start because the fuel wasn't receptive to it. So, each year along Highway 5 going into Reading, the unit up there does a small fuel break in the grass, and that has been a wonderful stop for catching fires that come from I-5. We also, I think me and you had a great look at a successful fuel break in the hog fire this last fire season in 2020, on the hog fire in Lassen County, where there was a fuel break, a linear fuel break along Highway 44 that wasn't sufficient to catch this wind-driven wildfire. But because the community had recognized there was a vulnerable community of Lake Forest Estates to the east of Highway 44, they had done some additional work reducing the fuels between Highway 44 and the community. And it offered an opportunity for the fire suppression folks to get in there and steer that fire around the community, even during those high winds that we were experiencing.
Sure. No, that was a good assignment. That's how I met you, Kevin. I remember that. And so going into our next question, it kind of segues. We were both working as public information officers. So our next question is, how do you work with the media on these fires or at your office? What's your interaction? You kind of touched on it already, but maybe a little more further.
Yeah, that's great. Especially towards, fire breaks, we do use roadways. Sometimes these are very, highly visible projects. And, a lot of people, want to know what's going on when you're working in their community and you're changing the nature or character of the roads they drive down or their neighborhoods. And so, it starts off, we solicit community input when we're doing our planning and permitting of the fuel treatment, and then we'll do some press releases when we're actually doing the work, including maybe some signage, and usually we're working with the local partner that's sponsoring the project. And then, like me and you did on the hog fire, had the opportunity to highlight the success of a fuel break that was actually used during fire prevention activities, to kind of close that loop and really let the community see full circle from planning to implementation to use, that these are critical things to have in their communities.
Right, absolutely. And I'm just going to quote BLM, it's the Bureau of Land Management, put out by Bill Garbert in February 16th, 2020. And I quote, they were referring to a fuel breaks within a roughly 11,000 miles of fuel breaks within a 223 million acre area to aid the control of wildfires in portions of Utah, Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, and Utah. Looking at that, it's not just California. A lot of times people think we are the state for fire. It's not only us. You're going to see fuel breaks throughout all these states that are fire states now. We're seeing it being more and more common.
And that's a great example of where community, providing input to the community or some knowledge into the community of what you're actually proposing is great, because you hear the 11,000 mile number and, people might think you're putting them all over the place, but really what that looks like, in any one specific area is a well thought out, pre-planned treatment to serve a specific purpose in an area that has either a fire history or a history of being used to put fires out.
Absolutely. And just one more question for you, Kevin. We have one more that's regarding how can you or the public, anyone that's out there, maybe just learning about this, how can they get active, get involved with their community, learn how to encourage, if nothing else, these fire breaks to protect their communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, right now is Wildfire Awareness Week. So it's a good time for folks to be thinking about this as we transition out of the winter and spring months and into the summer. So, it starts with your defensible space at your house and home hardening. And then you turn your attention to the broader community and some of the hazards. And I'd encourage you to reach out to your local fire safe council. They likely have a community wildfire protection plan where they've identified areas where they would want to do treatments. You can also reach out to your local CAL FIRE unit, your local fire department, your local UC cooperative extension advisors, and your resource conservation districts. A lot of those folks are involved with fire prevention and can help you access any type of state or local federal support that might be available to you. And then, last, I would encourage you to go to readyforwildfire.org to find out more. It's a great single stop shop to increase your awareness of fire prevention.
Sure, absolutely. I actually have the app on my phone. It is a great app just to remind you of things you might not have thought of, cleaning your gutters out. A lot of fires that destroy structures are actually from embercast, as you know. And so keeping those leaves off and just little maintenance goes a long ways. So, well, thank you, Kevin, for your time. Have a good rest of your day, and we appreciate you sharing some of your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for increasing the awareness of wildfire hazards in our communities. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.